What's up, you guys? So today, I just got the chance to see Den of Thieves 2. I want to talk about it. Let's get into it. So before getting into spoiler thoughts, I'm going to do spoiler-free thoughts, and then I'll get into spoilers. This is the sequel to Den of Thieves from 2018, which I actually watched a few days ago before seeing this. And that movie alone is really good, very underrated. Definitely see that before seeing this, because this is obviously the sequel. But watching this movie basically is the direct sequel to that. I'm going to be spoiling the first one, so if you haven't seen the first one, go check that out first. Basically, this continues off where the first one left. We get to see O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character, which is Ice Cube's son, if you didn't know. Basically, he's in Europe, stealing a diamond, and starts off right from there. And then it kind of takes a little bit. Starts off with O'Shea Jackson Jr. in Europe, doing his thing. And we get to see Gerald Butler come in. Basically a bromance movie. They're going through Europe, and this movie was very very slow paced, and I don't know how to feel about that. I had a mixed feeling when it came to the pacing of this film. It's 2 hours and 24 minutes, and you definitely feel that runtime, but the first hour is extremely slow. But once Gerald Butler starts to kind of make his presence into the film, it makes it much better. He kind of makes this movie for me. Once we get to that ending, especially the last hour, it's an anxiety-inducing rush, and I loved it for that. So it's kind of just like a giant rising, and then there's a climax scene, and then it kind of goes down a little bit, but then that ending's really good. Kind of like the first one, very similar to the first one. You don't really know what's going on until the ending, and then there's a big twist. Same thing with this, big twist. I will say, these movies feel as if, because these movies to me feel like something Christopher Nolan would do, like in like Tenet, or like, this feels like a very simple, basic Christopher Nolan film level of movie. Not Christopher Nolan's my favorite director. His films are fantastic. I'm just saying it feels like the same type of vibrancy as like Tenet or Insomnia, and it feels as if Christopher Nolan watched an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and saw the Pontiac Bandit and Jake Peralta and said, I'm going to make a comedy heist movie off of that. Because what happens in the first movie, where we see O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character, basically, am I saying that right? O'Shea Jackson Jr., yeah, it's on the poster. Basically him as the leader of the group, and he's in London, and he has all the money. He kind of gets Gerald Butler and goes like, hey, I'm leaving. Basically, same thing that happens within the first, within Brooklyn Nine-Nine with Pontiac Bandit and Jake Peralta. Kind of same thing happens in here, a little differently, but it's really good, really funny, and I think it's a great sequel. But we're gonna get into spoilers. Getting into spoiler territory, like I said, this movie starts off with O'Shea Jackson Jr. right from the ending. He's in Europe. He's basically stealing the diamond, and then it takes a bit for us to see Gerald Butler, but he kind of realizes, hey, my guy's in Europe. So he goes to Europe, and he sees O'Shea Jackson Jr. on like footage cam. He says, no, that's not him, but it is him. And he goes to O'Shea Jackson Jr. and goes like, hey, I'm going to join you. My life's in a mess right now. I want to join you. So they become buds, and the bromance within this film is so good. Like, they go to like this party, and the party scene was one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in my life. I was laughing up a storm. Gerald Butler is so funny to me. I love him. He's really funny, and I think these movies are so funny and so action-packed. That's why I'm a big fan of them. Then we get to that last hour where they're actually doing the heist. And man, that was one of the most anxiety-inducing scenes that I've seen in a bit. I thought it was really cool, and then the plan fails when the pipe kind of breaks off the roof. That was really fun to see, and it was a good time. I really liked it. And then he gives the diamond to the mob, and that's really it. Then they get a bunch of money, and then they all have dinner, and I'm like, hey, this is really cool. But then it got too comfortable. And I saw it coming because I'm like, Gerald Butler, why is he acting this? I knew there had to be a motive, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. But they got the thing right. They are having such a good time as a group. They were all like buddies and everything. I was like, this is really interesting. All of a sudden, SWAT comes in and everyone's putting their hands behind their back. O'Shea Jackson Jr. looks very upset. He's like, hey, you betrayed me. And then they're all getting arrested, including Gerald Butler. And then all of a sudden, Gerald Butler gets out of the handcuffs and he says, the cop that we see in the beginning was like, well done, what do you want to do now? Apparently he was undercover this whole time, which was I mean, it's not mind-blowing, but it was just wild. I was like, this is cool, this is awesome. Obviously, I saw that coming from a mile away. I was like, all right, this makes sense. But that's what I'm saying. It's very much like he got his karma. Now they both like portrayed each other, and then that's what even O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character says. He says like, oh, I guess you paid me back. And then towards the ending, all of a sudden we see that the mobster breaks him out of prison, and he's like, so how'd you get the diamond? I'm very curious. And then he texts Gerald Butler as Gerald Butler's driving through the east coast of like Italy or something, and is like, hey, I got out. And Gerald Butler's laughing and smiling because they had a good bromance, bro. This is one of the best bromance movies I've ever seen in my life. All right, right here, I'm going to give you my story details, I guess, if you want to say, because I feel like this is just better to kind of show you them all at once rather than going through everything. My biggest takeaways from this movie were obviously the ending was really fun to see. That last hour was very anxiety-inducing. I really liked it. This movie gave me just as much suspense as like a Mission Impossible movie. But like I said, it's a more serious, dramatic version of the Peralta Pontiac Bandit scenes in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. My overall thoughts on this movie is a 70 out of 100. And that's a good start to a 2025 movie because usually January releases suck. I'm going to see The Wolfman this weekend, and I'm sure that's going to be bad. You guys will find out. This movie, I believe, is rated R as well. So be careful with that, just letting you know. And with all that being said, if you like this video, make sure you like it. If you really liked it, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, thanks so much for watching today's video. And make sure you ring that bell for future reviews like this. These are out. Peace.